we're live.
All right, good afternoon. It's 1 p.m. Thursday, November 13th. This is a meeting of the Administration Committee. All members are present. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Acknowledge that the press and the public have been duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. The first item is approval of previous meeting minutes, the October 7th. Are both in the agenda? And 21st are in the agenda, or in the packet. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any changes or modifications? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, say old business. The first item, discussion parameters for program to recognize long-term council members. This is Jimmy. You want to have an update on it?
No real updates. It's just, I've scheduled out with Amy's help, all the council members. There's been 119 of them in the last 72 years and 13 mayors. I was thinking about as far as the how it would work. It recognized people for 10-year service, either as council member and or mayor, and 20-year service. 20-year service is only one council member, and that's Ryan Buchanan. I didn't bring the schedule with me. It's just like this wide. But I believe there's like 12 with 10 years or more. Carmen Bunch comes to mind, Clay Cable, Marty Patelli, Mr. Satilli, and let's see.
I think Detailer.
Who?
Detailer.
Detailer, of course, and not that many, but I presented to the committee the concept for the pen, and I was thinking about going out and talking to a jeweler or a craftsman that could draw up the specs for the pen, and then I'll present the names at the next meeting. There's no huge rush on it for approval by the committee, and then if the committee approves it, then the names and what the recognition would be, then we'll take it to full council. I'd probably say something with like a little pen and maybe a small resolution or a recognition of these people. Betsy Smiley's on that list too, so it would of course include people that are still with us and people who are not.
All right, so we just want to continue it as agenda item, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about it.
We'll wrap it up in the next meeting, whenever that be. That'll probably be January, and I'll pass it on to whoever's on the committee next year.
All right.
All the work's done.
Then the next item is new business. Interviews today's is for interviews for the Beach Preservation Committee. Looks like we have 7 interviews. I guess we should talk about, there's 2 on here that have applied since the process closed, and whether we want to interview them. When I look at the makeup of the people we're interviewing today, of the 7, 5 are in Waldoons, and the other, only 2 outside of Waldoons. The 2 that have applied since that point are both outside of Waldoon. So if we want to try to have a more equitable mix of the committee, it may be worthwhile for us to think about interviewing those 2 as well, but open to your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of anybody who wants to interview.
Yeah, I just encourage all the volunteers that would like to serve. It's hard to find people to serve.
Then after today, we would schedule another meeting to interview these 2. The 2 other ones is probably the regular scheduled meeting, which is December 2nd. But we can follow up, so we won't make any decisions on the beach committee today, but we will on the rest of the committees. We'll go into executive session, and my suggestion that we do that, there's a break in the interview schedule. from 2, there's a 2:10 interview, so when that's finished, the next one isn't until 3 o'clock, so we can go into executive session, do that business, then come back out and interview the last two, and then we can adjourn. So the first one is Mr.
I don't know if anybody's here yet.
Osterman. He's not here yet?
I heard
Outside,
the
yeah.
door, yeah, because I said 1:15,
Okay.
so I wasn't sure how much time you guys would need at the beginning.
And Amy, you're just gonna keep this rolling the whole,
I'm gonna mute it. I mean,
Okay.
just
yeah.
so that, we can chat.
While we're waiting, one potential change that we could be considering, if you all would want to, is an attorney came to the last Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. He was urged to do so by Glenn Thornburg, the current chairman. He expressed an interest. That is a board that we've tried to maintain an attorney on.
Yeah.
Ted's going off. So I think that might be may have an interest in going on. I think Nicole's been in contact with him about applying. I don't know that he actually has done that
Not
yet.
yet.
So there could be an additional add-on to be considered for the Board of Zoning Appeals.
And I could reach out to him again if you'd like. It was just a few days ago that I sent him the link for it. But I could say, hey, if you'd like to go ahead and fill out the application and then come talk to them on that second, we could just kind of roll it all in together.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe we can try to encourage him to get on
Okay.
from coming
I'm
to the
gonna-
second.
Because Ted definitely said that he doesn't want to continue
Yes.
on even though there's no no ATAX open.
That was what he expressed to me.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, if we can do that next. at
I'll
the
do my
same
best,
meeting,
yep, no problem.
If he has an interest. Yep.
Are we still live or you
Yes,
paused?
we're gonna stay live.
I'm gonna hit mute. All right, so testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Testing. Hello.
Okay.
Good. Welcome. So, Mr. Osman, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Live, Amy? Amy?
Yes,
Oh,
we're unmuted.
all right. So you're interviewing for the beach committee, beach preservation committee?
Yes.
You have quite a resume here. Why don't you just start off by telling us about yourself? A
Okay.
little bit.
I was born way back in Hamburg, Germany. I grew up there and went to school there and had the opportunity to study at the University of Southern California in industrial and systems engineering. Loved it so much in America that I eventually immigrated in '92 and ultimately became a U.S. citizen. But I've lived half of my life in Germany, half of my life in the U.S. In the U.S., I served at 2 management consulting firms for some 34 or so years in total, solving big corporate problems. I particularly was focused on the automotive sector, companies like General Motors or Ford, but also BMW and Mercedes were my clients, and I would help them with strategy and operations improvement. At one point in time, I also ran that consulting firm. It was a $1.3 billion firm, and I was the CEO for about a period of 3 years. But most of the time, I served clients and solved problems. I retired 3.5 years ago, forced retirement by PricewaterhouseCoopers at age 60, which I'm very grateful that they have that policy because it gives you an opportunity to do something different when you're still somewhat young and energetic. So the moment my wife and I saw the retirement coming, we sold our big house in New York and moved down to Isle of Palms. And we had previously visited Isle of Palms many of times with our families on vacation. Her sister also already lives in Wild Dunes. And so we came here and we knew that we would love it, and we are loving it even more than we anticipated. So my desire to go back to New York, where my wife still has a lot of family, is very limited. I like to stay here most of the time. And I now serve on 4 corporate boards. Some of them are publicly traded companies, some of them are private companies. That lets me stay involved, but it only occupies about 60% of my time, so I have more time to give. My wife and I go walking every morning on the beach, particularly around the Ocean Club and Beachwood East. And for the last year, I've been, watching with fear this beach erosion going on there, and felt very badly for the people involved and for the community. So when the opportunity arose in the paper, I saw that you guys are looking at maybe refreshing the beach committee. I threw my head in the ring and said, I know how to attack large-scale problems. I've done it in the corporate world, and I would be interested to put my talents to work to see whether I can help. Mm-hmm. So that's basically how I got here.
So your interest is based on walking to the beach and seeing the erosion that's going on. And what do you have any ideas and thoughts around what you would do as part of that committee, or?
Yeah, so obviously I wasn't entirely unprepared. I caught up on what happened in Wild Dunes and Isle of Palms and attended some of the board meetings and read the report from the beach committee. And it appears that not everything is entirely known and predictable. It appears that a whole bunch of facts and science behind it is known, but not everything. And a lot of planning has been going on into the current situation. The beach erosion has clearly dramatically increased in the last 2 years than what we have seen in the years before. I've looked at the projects that went on in 2008 and 2018. I looked at the recommendations of the committee to accelerate the nourishment terms to now 8 years. I look with fear and horror on the expense that it costs, and so finding the right balance between doing the right thing for the beaches and not causing too much pain for all the taxpayers, I think is one of the challenging projects to find. I also noticed, beach nourishment, the milder versions have been now explored for some time. The summer project I saw washed away within a month. Now the project that has been executed over the last couple of weeks prior to the king tide seems to be, with the sandbags, holding up a little bit better. I wondered how in the world could we be in a situation that the Ocean Club is under construction while it's not even secured as a building. I mean, how could that ever happen? Why would we not secure that building first and secure the building with appropriate protection first before we start construction on the building? All those things, I think, need to be revisited and further explored. I'm very interested in the topic of permanent structures. Not decided on the topic at all, but I've seen it where I came from in Long Island, New York, done effectively. So I've been exposed to the weather and the water my majority of my life, certainly here in America. We lived right on the beach in Long Island, New York, where my wife is from, and I've been in 2 hurricanes, including Sandy, and saw flooding and beach erosion there firsthand, and saw that they are doing some of it on Fire Island with permanent structures. I've also seen in some of the reports that you have investigated, or the engineering firm that we hired has investigated to explore that, and there's other beach community that have looked into this. So I think that's probably unfinished business and needs a second look, whether that would make sense for us. Because these $25 to $30 million projects every 8 years is a horrendous amount of money and very tough on everybody.
Open it up to other committee members for questions.
So, you say you spent half your life in Germany? Did you ever live in Berlin?
Berlin is where my mother came from and where my brother still lives. So I never lived there, but I visited there many of times.
Yeah, that's a great city. I was there a few years ago that stayed at the Radisson Blu,
Yeah,
right in the Midtown.
yeah.
It had that aquarium. Did you
Yeah.
know that thing broke?
No.
Yeah, it broke in 2022. It had this aquarium inside in the lobby.
And then it
It's
flooded.
about 8 stories high.
Oh my gosh.
And they had scuba divers in there cleaning it. And in December of 22, it broke.
I have to ask my
They
brother
lost about
this.
1,500 fish and a couple people got injured, but
Yeah.
they didn't rebuild it.
So where I was born is Hamburg,
Hamburg, I've been there, yeah.
which is just about 2 hours away from Berlin in the very
Right,
north.
north,
And it's
yeah.
the biggest seaport by pieces in Europe. In fact, it reminds me quite a bit of Charleston Harbor because of the two big container terminals that we have in Charleston. That feels like where I grew up.
Right. Very industrialized, Hamburg, what I remember of it.
Yeah, but very much towards trade and seaport activities, right? Less so industrial manufacturing. That's more in the south of Germany.
Where did you live in Long Island?
I lived in a place called Amityville, which
Yeah.
is right at the border of Nassau and Suffolk County.
Right. And your thoughts on what was going on with the beach there, and after Hurricane Sandy and the other hurricane you went through? Did you have a lot? Did you lose a lot of beach, and what did you do about it?
Yeah,
Or what
so
did the town do about it?
the the aftermath of Sandy was dramatic. Where my house was 9 foot underwater.
Wow.
And the entire south coast, up to a mile, up to the main through street, Merrick Road, was basically unlivable for a better part of a year or two. They ended up raising all the houses, probably very similar to some of the legislation that happened here in South Carolina with certain height requirements now for new structures. So that was all not in place, and so every house pretty much got raised afterwards. We lived in directly facing the bay. The barrier island is what is further out east referred to as Fire Island. That's obviously the beaches that got hit hard by that storm. The storm was so intense because of flooding more so than because of the winds. In fact, when you go back in history, Sandy was, I think when it made landfall, just downgraded to a tropical storm. But it paired up with a northeaster coming from the north, and that caused this enormous amount of floodwaters hitting both New York as well as Long Island. So the beaches were to some degree destroyed, new inlets were created, and the communities, after they took care of the citizens and the housing situation first, then worked on the beaches probably for the better part of 10 years, maybe even 12 or 15. Now they're back in good shape, but it took a long time. And you saw
Did you get any help with the Corps of Engineers?
Well, I wasn't involved in local politics at the time. I was working every day in management consulting, so I'm not exactly sure who all was involved, but the Corps of Engineers played a big role, I believe.
All right. That is a very interesting history to me, because I was here when Hurricane Hugo hit, and the island was pretty much wiped out. And that's why you mentioned the structures being up in the air. There's a lot of that happened, enormous amount. We had houses in the middle of Palm Boulevard. I live in the middle part of the island, the poor side, and I had 4 feet of water in my house.
Yeah.
It was, and there are not a lot of people left that went through that, but at least going through that, and you know some history about what was going on. So that's a very interesting story, and it's very relevant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would just add, so I'm sure you're familiar with the Beachfront Management Act, and just wanted to get your thoughts on the state and city laws that we currently have in place, and, do you feel like they are relevant or need amending, or what are your opinion?
Well, again, I read up a little bit on the topic over the last few months, and obviously I noticed that a fair amount of the mayor election centered around this topic as well. So I was here in this room at the last IOP board meeting to also observe what was being discussed and the engineering firm presenting. So, these are big topics. It is not to understand that the state of South Carolina is not offering more than 1.5 million in their budget for beach restoration for the entire coast. From the lobbying firm that presented here, I understand a little bit what the political situation seems to be, and the fight between the people that are closer to the ocean and the people that are further away from the ocean and not wanting to spend too much money on it. So I think the approach that was suggested by the firm that council hired to advise them on lobbying to get money out of different funds, and then even if it doesn't have anything to do with beaches right now, request the funds that are available to you so that you can internally have more freedom to restructure the own budget. It seems to be a very prudent way to address the deficit of South Carolina funding for beaches right now.
You don't have any issues. I think you're retired, but you still spend a lot of time with your boards. You don't envision any conflict or with being able to participate?
Most of the times, particularly if the meeting schedule is known in advance, I can work around it. When you serve on boards, particularly the ones that require in-person board meetings, they're typically 4 times a year. Out of the 4 boards that I'm on, 2 of them meet every single time in person, and 2 of them meet sometimes in person, sometimes virtually. And then, yes, for the in-person board meetings, I have to fly to Michigan, or to one of them is in Nashville, one of them is in California.
Yeah.
So I have to do that, but, that's a few times a year, maybe 10 times. And other than that, I can flex my schedule around.
All right. And you live in Wild Dunes, right?
Yeah, I live on Commons Court in Wild Dunes.
Yeah. Where's Commerce Court? I don't,
It's at the very east end.
okay.
So my walk to the beach typically goes right through Ocean Club. That's why I look at that so
Yeah,
often.
that's why you look at that.
Yeah, it looks gruesome to me. I mean, when that house, if that house ever falls into the water, we have a huge problem on the
Yes.
Isle of Palms.
Kind of across from the driving range, that's kind of correct? Driving range is.
No, it's between holes 14 and 15. Between 14 and 15 of the court, so
It's like
a little
way
bit further
back,
from the
like-
driving range,
Okay.
out
like
east.
Back Bay and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty far.
In fact, I got a new neighbor. You probably all know her, Terry Hawk.
Yeah,
Okay, that's right there.
She lives in Commons Court 2. I live in Commons Court 4.
okay.
She's a great name.
Well, do you have any questions or anything that you need to ask us, or?
Yeah, so I'm assuming that this reconstitution of this committee is based on the recommendation from the last committee. I saw all the recommendations. One of them
Yeah.
was to establish a permanent committee. Is this what it is?
This is the permanent committee, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the council's expectation of how long members will serve on that committee?
Well, some of these members will be elected as two-year terms, and the other, and one, some of them are one-year term.
I think it was staggered, I think it was staggered 2 and 3-year terms.
2 and 3-year
Okay.
terms, yeah.
Good. And then there will be council representation, just like it was before at the ad hoc?
One council member is a liaison to council. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, in full disclosure, I raised my hand also to serve on the Wild Dunes Community Association Board.
Okay,
There's 3 spots becoming available, 4 candidates are running, so there's a 75% mathematical chance that I would be on that, and I figured that actually makes some sense, because it's Wild Dunes' biggest problem too, and
Yeah.
so maybe I could play a role in helping between the two sides.
yeah. All right.
When is that election?
It's, I believe, in February.
Okay.
Right, it's before the annual meeting, which is March, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were awarded that, would that be a conflict to do this? I don't think so, right? Yeah. So
I don't think so,
yeah.
because half of Isle of Palms
Yeah.
lives there, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And I have another question, if I may. Are you, as the council, having very specific questions? Like last time, I remember the ad hoc committee, you basically outlined 3 things they were supposed to study at the time. Is there something similar planned right now, or is it a little bit more open-ended?
I think it's more open-ended. I think that there's going to be some involvement with some of the things you talked about, hard structures and valuing those. We're getting an opinion from on kind of the alternatives to our current beach management plan and evaluating those. So it's more open-ended. It's not very specific.
Yeah,
At least we haven't yet outlined, specific objectives of the committee.
okay. Well, I would be very interested.
Yeah. Well, I think you'd be very good, so thank you for coming and having the interest in it.
Good.
And I think the process is that we will take on December the 9th is when the council meeting, where we'll make a proposal to council, and then it would be approved by the new council next year in January,
Is that when the new
January.
council comes together for the first time?
January 6th. So that's the process.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Hi, Dr.
Hey,
Hello.
how are you?
Do you want me in any
It's right
spot?
there.
The hot seat.
Yep.
I have to tell you, this is a new experience for me.
Yeah, well, it won't be too painful. Why don't you, thank you for volunteer for the beach committee.
Well, thank you.
And why don't you just start off by telling us about yourself and why you're interested in the committee?
Okay, well, nothing here too technical, but my name is Jimmy Bernstein. I moved here in 2011, bought the property. Born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, a Bearcat fan, an alum from the University of Cincinnati. And believe it or not, my claim to fame is in graduate school, I was taught by Neil Armstrong. I have 2 degrees in aerospace engineering, but I made my living in the bar and restaurant business in Cincinnati, then moved to Chicago, took on a partner, moved into Chicago. And in 2011, I was on the 66th floor of a condominium building. It's pouring down snow, about 10 degrees outside. I'm watching March Madness. Barbara says, Jimmy, maybe we ought to find a place that's a little bit warmer. I said, Barbara, doctors, I'm watching basketball. So she comes back 5 minutes later with this property on Beechwood East that we were familiar with the area because we would come here. My best friend and doctor, Michael Safety, lives on Beechwood East. He would invite couples from Cincinnati to come play golf. So we were familiar with it, not the house, but I was familiar with the area. And I told Michael, this is a slice of paradise. How did you ever find a place? So when Barbara came back, she said, Jimmy, you aren't going to believe what I found. There's a house 3 doors down from the Safeties that just went on the market on Beechwood East. We did properties on Sunday. We put an offer in on deal by Friday. I'm not a floor. This was something new to basically spent most of our time here, although my office was still in Chicago and I was very much involved with my business. And that brings us really to today. Of course, in 2020, when COVID erupted, being here was a great advantage because it just was a great place to be, a great place to weather the storm. Everything was closed. My business was closed for 18 months. I'm in live music. I run bars and nightclubs. And we were completely closed. There isn't a textbook or a college curriculum that teaches any entrepreneur when they have a thriving business, they close the next day and are closed for 18 months and reopen. So it was just a daily nightmare. And to be honest with you, I can't even tell you how I weathered that storm or what it was like. It's a blur. I think to many people, that whole period was a blur. I'm sorry. I should have done this before.
It's all right.
So that really brings me to today. Well, I can tell you when I bought the property in 2011, I think that all of you have been involved to know what the beach looked like in 2011. We had 50 yards of green, fescue, natural greenery, trees, shrubs. We had a backyard. And after that, there were pathways out from homes to bridge the fescue. And after that, there was like 25 yards of beach. I could tell you, I never would have ever imagined that this could happen. And slowly, and as we originally we were here, we weathered some storms. No damage. No, I mean, there was a little erosion, but nothing like what we have now. It wasn't until 2018, I think, with Joaquin, that really, or before that, because we had those white sandbags. So I've had a great deal of it. We did that Tinker Toy, I call it the Tinker Toy wall. which was that wave dissipation system that was done under the auspices of the Citadel by the professor there, who worked with somebody to design that and constructed it. All of that was done with private money, all of it. I think each homeowner, I can speak for myself. I know I spent $250,000 on those white, remember those big white sandbags that were a nightmare? They would just roll over and they littered the beach. We then spent more money on that Tinker Toy wall. Wave dissipate, I shouldn't call it a Tinker Toy, but that's what it was, because it's made out of plastic. So and after I was done with that, and we just threw it into the ocean because Joaquin came, and that's when, I think it was in 2018, that's when there was the FEMA money, the state put money in, the federal government put money in, and my first experience with the beach nourishment program was in 2018 when and I can't tell you what a cubic yard of sand looks like. You know, when they say they're dumping
Yeah.
5 million cubic yards of sand on the beach, I can't begin to, other than it created a beach that was like 200 yards wide. And seniors would drive golf carts out to the edge of the beach. And it slowly eroded away to where we are today. And I wish I could tell you I have some technical experience, or I can talk about any of the facts and figures that some of the coastal engineers talk about, but I don't. Although I do have, again, I have an engineering background. I spent 7 years in college, and people have often asked me, said, Jimmy, do you regret all the time you spent in college? And I said, not for a minute, because engineering had taught me an analytical way of approach of problem solving, just an analytical way of the scientific method, which I used in raising my children, and it just gives you a good foundation. So I say it taught me how to think and to learn on my own, because in engineering you would pick up a textbook and you would learn calculus and differential equations, but you didn't solve anything that way. You had to apply the methods that you learned to that specific problem and work through it. So I would say this, that's how I've tried to analyze my observances from living on Beechwood. John, I know you've been to my house, but I get up in the morning, I go out on my deck and evaluate the damage that was done. And I can't tell you the weight that puts on your psyche, because there's nothing you can do. You're helpless and hopeless. I've come to many of the council meetings when the beach was discussed, gotten to know Douglas fairly well. He's often said, Jimmy, what's the matter? You haven't called me this morning. You know, you leave a wake-up call. But and it started out a little bit, we were getting to know each other, but since then, I think that we've developed a good mutual respect and understanding for each other. But and I can tell you, I have, because I'm in the bar restaurant business, I'll just tell you a story. My mother and father were in the restaurant business, and I'd be out, and my mother would call me. This is when I was in college. She said, Jimmy, we have a record number of reservations. Do you think you could come help out tonight? We have a busboy didn't show up. I said, well, Mom, I do have a date. She said, you have a date? With Barbara, my wife. Do you have a date? Bring her too. And I got thrown into this. This is what I was at General Electric designing jet engine. She'd hunt me down in movie theaters, and I would get up and go. And Barbara, my wife, would hang coats, and I would fill in wherever I could. And slowly, I got thrown into this world of working with people, which has sort of always been my force. Just working with people. And I can tell you that throughout my background, I value relationships more than I do the dollar. And I have tried to build my, of course, I'm in the entertainment industry. So you can't run entertainment industries pursuing just the dollar. It just doesn't work, in my opinion. And when I took on a partner in Chicago, he readily recognized my characteristics, and he said, Jimmy, why don't you let me run the business? And you focus on the concept and the development and everything. So that's your, so we can do it the opposite way. So you can run the business, and I can, but you know the entertainers. You like that segment of it. Let me do the nuts and bolts, dollars and cents. And that's how I've made my career. I've been in business now for 35 years. Just in January, I really stepped away and retired. I kept telling people I'm really not retired, but they don't expect anything from me. So during this, we have an annual meeting. During this annual meeting, the staff, the office staff just gave me a T-shirt. It said, on the T-shirt said, fully depreciated, but still in use. That's what I had a T-shirt. I had pictures taken. Fully depreciated, not appreciated, but
Depreciated.
fully depreciated, but still in use. So that's how I characterize myself. Now, just to maybe apply all of that background, I hope I didn't bore anybody or go too far with that. Obviously, my property has been the focal. I don't know how I got so unlucky, but even Stephen Trainum, who everybody knows with Coastal Science, has said, Jimmy, the shoal ends right before your house. It points everything right at your house. And I think I don't want to focus on me, because I think that Isle Palms as an island certainly is much bigger than Beechwood East. But there are other properties on Beechwood East that are as impacted as I am. Just prejudicially, I would tell you, I think I'm the worst. But my neighbor might think he's the worst too. So I try to recognize what everybody else's opinion is. And I've approached or developed my thinking strictly from observation, as well as applying what I think are solid scientific evidential discoveries, which I think are sometimes very contradictory to the coastal science people who come and spend a day or a week here. I live it. And like I said, I get up every morning, go outside and see what the condition of the ocean is. And I can tell you that my experience, some of the storms that we've had, the unnamed storms, particularly the storm in December of '23 with that torrential, that 100-year downpour, that you don't have to have a hurricane or a named storm. Some of the worst damage has been done with ordinary weather that has been accompanied with terrible wind or wind conditions that have blown. And I see it, and again, the impact and the weight and the mental anguish it creates is difficult to explain.
Let me ask you something around
Sure.
that. I think just good understanding of your background, and I think we understand why you're interested in the beach committee, having lived what you live. But what would you say to people that would think you're so impacted and so close to it that you would not be able to see the big picture and the best for the whole island?
Well, that's a very good question. I think, and I would tell you, I said, yes, I can't, I will tell you that I am basing my things on what I see.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I try to consider others, that's my perspective. So I would say that they're right, but they're wrong, because I would gladly state that my interest, I think the economic engine of Isle Palms is the beach. Not Beechwood East, the beach in general. And I want I'm a supporter of the hotels. Because I'm in business, I'm a businessman. I like the activity. I want people to choose Isle of Palms as their destination. And I think that spreads to every resident who's made this their home. And congestion is and all of that, but I'm for our economic success. I think it funds all we have, all the infrastructure. I'm just trying to get my piece of it, if that's the right way to say it. Now, I can tell you, John, I think, and I know Douglas knows of this. In fact, he gave me a great compliment the other day. But because of my background, the only thing I know is to reach out to other people. I have made contact with Myra Reese and her lieutenant, Ruby Gruel, in Colombia. They have come and visited me personally on 2 different occasions. And that may be because, you know, I have a shrinking personality. I just fold up into the wall. I'm just kidding. I think I'm a little bit dynamic, and they come and they have enjoyed meeting me, getting to know me a little bit, and I thank them because I view myself as just an individual resident who somehow has become the mouse that roared. And even with Douglas, I mean, Douglas has a responsibility to all of us and all of you, and I've observed the thought that goes into all of the council decisions that you make. And I view myself as I'm just one resident and know that I can't rule the pack. It's got to be something that's shared. And the reason why is that I believe the state government or the city government or the Charleston guy has got a larger voice than little Jimmy. And I've been boosted by the fact that these Columbia people have chosen to return my phone calls and talk to me. And Douglas just said, Jimmy, you don't know the impact you've made. We've got more cooperation from Columbia than we ever had. I think a lot of it has to do with what you've done. And I really don't know what I've done other than I am just a concerned resident. A resident. I love Isle of Palms. This has become my home. I'm a citizen here. I vote here. Pay my taxes here. Seen you on the beach, seen other council people walking, and I have met, and because I live around the beach, I meet strangers on the beach, and they all look at my property. They see the sand, they see what's going on. And Mr. Bernstein, why is this? And they look 2 doors down, and I have a neighbor who's got boulders of rocks, a backyard, greenery, and here I've got a property with brown sandbags thrown all over the place. They used to be stacked up neatly, but now they're all over. So they said, why is this? Why can't you do that? Why can't you do this? Why? Well, we're not allowed. And they said, what do you mean you're not allowed? I said, well, these rocks are all grandfathered, and as soon as the water hits it, the sand disappears. So no matter how much they move, and I know Douglas will argue the point with me because there is some, I shouldn't say there's no impact. So I think it has raised the level of the beach. I would give, but it does not protect any property, and it does not create a wider, I can tell you that when they were done with the shoal management project, it did raise the beach, and for, I would say, 1 month, we could get up in the morning and walk the beach. It was a delight. It all disappeared. And today, even in low tide, there are days when you can't walk the beach, period. So, I don't know if I don't want to go on and on. I want to answer your question.
Well, I want to open it up to.
Yeah, I just, unfortunately, we're under time constraints.
sure.
It's very interesting, listening to you and everything. I was just if you could make a mission statement, what you would bring to the committee, what, from your personal perspective, what would that be? Like a sentence or two?
Okay, that's a fair question. I would say, first off, make well-founded decisions based on what you know at that moment in time and how you see the future.
Okay,
You can't redo the past, but you can apply what you've experienced and say, this is how we should move forward. So it has to be based on evidence, though. And to be honest with you, I think I've got the most evidence because I see it every day. I hear Trainum talk, and I just wish he was here more often or something like that. But he's not, he doesn't live here. So I would then say that the vision has to encompass all of your neighbors. You cannot be that focused on the self. You have to want for others what you want for yourself. That's what I would say.
that's fair enough. Ashley, do you have anything?
I was just gonna ask, so prior to you buying, were you aware of the history of that area specifically?
No. I was, when I got the contract, it did have the Lucas versus South Carolina lawsuit in it. So, and that was divulged to me, and to be honest with you, I had no idea of its implication. Because again, it was so strange to me to see what we had, to think, and I would have, to this day, I can tell you, I have no idea why 13 Beechwood East and its neighboring were thought of as being the ocean's pathway to the shore. Some people come and say, your house should never have been built. I didn't build it. I just bought it. I bought it. But there are people who say it should never have been built. So the answer, though, is I know I did not understand. I did know of the Supreme Court case that authorized the construction.
Sorry, just a couple more questions.
Oh,
Well,
sure.
do we have time? I don't
Sure.
know. I mean, so I'm just curious what your thoughts are on using public money to, you know, potentially protect private property, but also, you know, the definition of a barrier island, kind of what that means. Do you understand? What's your thoughts on?
Okay, well, those, again, are very good questions. I'm not sure I could give you a definition of barrier island, other than it's a barrier, it sits out and it protects the mainland.
Right.
Or it just sits out there, other than the Prince of Tides, which made barrier islands maybe more well known. So I can't really, other than I think Isle Palms is a great asset to Charleston. Insofar as the public money aspect, I can tell you that I think individual homeowners are hard pressed to make some of the big decisions that need to be made when you talk about beach processes. We just don't have that ability. I mean, it doesn't add to the value of the home or anything like that. I would be in favor of some type of revenue contribution. I think that that's certainly well-founded, but I can tell you that, and Douglas will know, I don't know that there has been talk about geotubes and all of that. And Beechwood East homeowners have formed a loose HOA, if you want to call it that, to privately fund this. It has grown to be $1.5 million, and potentially much greater than that because the legal aspects of it. Private citizens can't withstand legal bills that are $500,000 or more. So when you talk about, I think those are big projects that have to be funded by, organizations that can either assess all of its citizens, state people, and I can tell you, I would be totally in favor of, even on IOP or even on Wild Dunes. Beachfront owners should pay X amount. Call it 2X. Maybe people right across the street should pay X amount. Inland people should pay maybe a half of X. I don't know how you graduate it, but I think that government agencies have the ability to analyze that. And when you ask people, how do I would make it on sound business ideas of why we're assessing homeowners an HOA fee. Right now, I think Wild Dunes charges, I pay $900 for an annual membership. If you made it $2,000, I can't imagine anybody really objecting, but there might be a few of them, but maybe 25, I don't, but I don't have the ability to do that. And I think that the Wild Dunes Community Association, in conjunction with Isle of Palms, I've been at meetings, I know of the intertwining relationships that you all have, so I know that Wild Dunes contributes, and that they should. But I don't know what the split of the economic benefit is, but I know that the revenues, but we're a citizen of the island. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think unless there's any burning question, I think we need to move on.
Yeah, we gotta move. We
But
gotta
I
be
want to
waiting.
thank you for having the interest, coming in and talking. And the process is that we're going to make a decision, we're going to have another interview session on December 2nd. December 9th, we're going to make a suggestion to the council, and then it won't be approved until the next council, which is January 6th. So.
Okay, so when you say another interview, are you gonna want to?
Not with you. No, there's some other people who
Okay.
couldn't make it today that we're
Oh,
interviewing
okay,
on the 2nd.
okay.
Yeah.
So, just a parting summary, I can tell you that I threw my name into that because I want to contribute.
Yeah.
I want to contribute. If you think that I'm a good fit. If you don't, that's okay too. I will stay involved. And I don't have a legal back, I'm not a lawyer. And I don't know what the criteria, I don't have a resume, I just have a personality.
Yeah.
That's my resume of coming here and saying, I would like to be part of the solution. Part of the solution. I don't need to identify, I think we all know what the problems are, but to have people that point to finding the solution and identifying what can be done. All South Carolina says, unfortunately Douglas says, it's what we can't do. Jimmy, you can't do this. It's against the law. Can't build a structure, can't do this. Tell me, what can I do? That's that's how I would base my thinking, is what can we do, or what do we have to argue? Because I think what the solution lies in how we can convince others what's in our interest, and our interest is their interest. That's what I'll leave you with.
All right, thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
I'll just wait.
and thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right.
We'll be in touch.
Shirley, come on up here. So we have Shirley Vanderham. Thank you for being interested in the beach committee.
Thank you.
And we'll start off by just asking you to tell us about yourself and why you're interested in the beach committee.
Well, I'm interested in community, and I'm interested because I'm retired now, building community and working within a community. I was a criminal paralegal before I married, and then I married, and I had 48 years of successfully managing, being a CEO of one of the largest agricultural businesses in the state, and I lived in one of the most environmentally difficult states to do a business in. And I handled all the environmental situations with our business in the state of California. I handled all the employee situations that we had. I also ran successful retail stores locally, so I understand community and being in the local and having a business with local people, and also running a large agricultural business that was at odds with some people, and we have that here on the island. We have a divided community here. So I'm also a pastry and culinary chef. And that's what I spend most of my time on now. But Ron and I still have our business, but we have 2 adult children that run it. I'm still hands-on with the environmental part that
It's a
we
farm?
have to
Is that
address.
right? Is it a? It's a
Now
farm.
it's in Texas.
Yeah, it's a farm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the
cattle.
largest single-family-owned farm in the whole state of Texas, so that tells you how big it is.
Yeah.
We have 110 employees, and I've managed those for 48 years. My sons, of course, do the physical work.
And why do you want to be a part of the beach committee?
Yes, I live on the ocean front. I'm a mumsy. I have 4 grandchildren that live 1 street away from me that are very much affected by what happens in the beach community. And I'd like to see it preserved for their futures too. And there's a lot of issues on the whole island that need to be addressed, not just the ocean front, but we have the marsh that has water problems. We have the inlet that has problems. I have friends on the marsh side that continually get flooded out through the years. My daughter lives that close. She's 1 street off of Palm Boulevard, and the water comes up to her yard. So there's situations that need to be addressed for the good of everyone in the community on the island. And of course, being oceanfront, I see every day what is happening on the ocean, not just once a month or every 2 weeks or whatever when people walk, but every day I see what happens with the wind, I see what happens with the Army Corps, I see what happens with the sandbags, and we definitely need to come together and unify to get a solution to keep sustaining Barrier Island. Because if we don't keep the ocean front, we have the forces to be, which are the environmentalists, that feel that whatever is lost in a storm, they can claim. And they have said in court that they're not going to stop claiming property. When every storm comes, wherever it ends up, they're going to claim that. So it's not just oceanfront. If you lose the oceanfront, then you have the next street, and you have the next street. And they were asked very specifically in court, well, where does your authority stop? And they said it doesn't with every storm. So we have to do something that is going to protect the ocean front.
I'll open it up to the other committee members.
Do you have a resume?
No, because I'm retired, so there's no reason for a resume. And I wasn't asked for a resume.
What year did you buy your home?
We purchased right after Hugo. So we've been here 35 years. So I have watched mayors come in and mayors go out. I have watched the politics of the island. I have seen what's good. I have seen what isn't effective. And now that I'm retired, I have the time to volunteer where a lot of people are still actively, engaged in their lives and working and don't have the time. So it's time for me to give back.
Did you build immediately after you got?
We bought immediately after Hugo. In fact, there were only 4 houses on the ocean front
Yeah.
when I bought it.
I was here.
Yep.
But the house was there when you bought it.
It was built. I bought it right when it was built.
When was it built?
That year, I believe it was 1999 or
1989 was a storm.
okay, then it was 1990.
What would you like to see As part of the beach committee, what would you like to see done with the committee?
Well, I sat through and listened to all the meetings in the ad hoc committee and all the recommendations and advice that were presented. And I have yet to see one recommendation acted upon. And that's sad, because they spent a lot of time going into and researching recommendations for the whole community, what could help. And it's sad that nothing was acted upon, or even if it wasn't able to be acted upon, it should have been put into the works. If they needed to get permits, they should have started working towards getting the permits in order to do what they needed to do. And then we hired an independent engineer, then the city hired an engineer, and I'm still waiting to find out if the council was gonna take any of the recommendations from those two outside engineers. And I'm still waiting to hear what the decision is on that.
So as part of the committee, you'd like to see push through things?
Well, you know, I ran a huge business. In fact, I ran 4 businesses. And going to committee and doing a study doesn't accomplish anything as far as getting something done. When you run a business or you have a business, you don't always have more than tomorrow to make a decision. Good, bad, or ugly, you have to make a decision to go forward. And when you don't make decisions, you are not going forward. And you have to go forward to be successful in anything. And of course, hindsight always tells us all, but we don't have that luxury. But we also can learn from hindsight what didn't work and then readjust. And to be successful, you have to have goals. You have to have long-term goals and you have to have short-term goals. But if you never make any short-term goals, you never get to the long-term goal. So it's important to work together as a community, not just to study situations or analyze what problems are, but you have to make decisions and move forward, or you're not going to accomplish anything. And I think I've seen that since I've been on the island, that the problems have increased.
Any other questions?
Do you have any specific follow-ups to exactly what you would recommend? You said
Why would I have a follow-up to recommend? I wasn't on the ad hoc committee. I listened to it. I read all their recommendations. I listened to every meeting when they presented their recommendations, but I wasn't part of that ad hoc committee to put forth any recommendations.
Excuse me, I should not have used the word follow-up. That was my mistake. If you were on the committee, what recommendations would you make specifically?
Well,
As
how
far as
could I
the-
do that when I wasn't on the committee?
No, I'm saying in the future.
Well, you would have to listen to everything that is presented. You can never make a decision before you have knowledge. And you'd have to listen to everything that was presented and then work with others to make the best decision as a group you could make for the whole. So I wouldn't have a recommendation because I didn't set that year and a half that they did and listen to every expert they had come in and give their recommendation. But I feel that they were very competent in gathering their information and presenting it, but nothing was acted upon that they presented. And so I feel like, was their time not respected? Was their time wasted? Would they be willing to spend that kind of time again when they were asked to do something, to do the work, say for the city council, they were asked to do the work, the preparatory work, find out all the experts, and then culminate it and bring it into the council so that they could spend their time making the decision then. So, no, I can't answer your question because I didn't hear all the information that they heard. But I did concur that I think what they presented to the city council was a very good plan. And that was to make a plan.
So the beach is obviously public, so when it comes to funding renourishment, which is, mainly, it needs to be kept up with and monitored. But when it comes to paying for that? Do you see that being more of a city responsibility or a state responsibility? I mean,
Well, I would hope that the community would have put forth a plan to go to the state and ask them for more support. And that has not been done. And as far as the A tax, the reason we got the 1% A tax was for one reason only, and that was for beach renourishment. And the state sets the criteria, what they consider beach renourishment. And it is written in the statute. And the statute says a dry sand beach will be maintained at all times. We have not had that since 2018. I'm oceanfront, I've watched it since 2018. So I feel like there are avenues. In fact, one of the engineers that gave the report, that was the one thing she recommended, was coming together and going to the community. You have Mount Pleasant, they use the beach. You have many outlying areas that use the beach. It's a resource to go to them and ask them to contribute to it. We also have the ability to go to the state, even though they may not be contributing that much now. When you look at the funds that they receive from this community, and they're not spending any of that back, that's an avenue where it takes coming together and not fighting, uniting, and coming together and going to the state and say, listen, this is the facts. This is the revenue you're receiving. Why are we held responsible for maintaining a public beach when you're not contributing to maintaining a public beach? So no, I don't feel it's just one entity that's responsible, but the one entity that the city's responsible for is what they get the 1% tax money for. And then there are avenues to go to the state. It's like the woman that was here that was the engineer. I forget her name. She was from one of the hardest areas to get anything done, and yet she was able to do it. But she said to the whole council, the only reason she was able to do it is that people had to get over themselves and come together in order to get something accomplished. And that's the way I feel it is today. This is too much division here, too much personalities, as you would call it, instead of really wanting to work for a goal. And people are very united when they have a goal to work for. And I would think there would be a lot of people that would feel that we could address the state. And we could address, I've researched North Carolina. They have their communities that pay a certain percentage of tax to pay for their oceans. And we've not even tried to do that. And yet we know that they've been highly successful doing it. So there are a lot of avenues to look to get some funds, and it'll happen overnight. That's my point. But if you don't have a goal, or if you're not working to something, it's never going to happen. And you're never going to get the state to contribute. You're never going to get the outline. Have anyone out there in any committee imploring the local communities that this is theirs too. We're not trying to deny you. This is yours. So let's all keep it sound and environmentally clean by working together. But there's nothing in this community that's doing anything like that. And I've lived in a lot of beach communities. I laugh when we had the issue about the parking price. I paid $35 for 4 hours at any beach I went to. So this city to charge $10 and people getting their feathers ruffled is ridiculous. You can't go anywhere in any coastline and not pay that kind of money for the privilege of using the beach. And yet we just took it in the chin and said, oh, well, we'll just charge $10. That's ridiculous. You have the fire departments, you have medical, you have the cleanup that you have to pay for. $10 is nothing to park. It's unrealistic, and they know it. And if they don't know it, then records should have brought in from the whole coastline on this East Coast and the West Coast, showing them publicly how much people pay to park their car for the use of the beach. And in many areas, it's a lottery. You get it once a year, and if you don't buy the lottery, you're not using the beach. It is not a given that it's someone's right, and that's the mistake that is in this area. It's not a right to use it.
Okay. I think we got to move on for time's sake.
Yeah,
So
she's busy too.
So thank you for
Okay,
for coming in and the process and being interested in the committee. Process is we're going to have a couple people couldn't make it today, so we're going to interview again on December 2nd.
Okay.
Then December 9th at the city council meeting, we'll make some recommendations and it's approved by the new council on January the 6th.
Okay.
So that's the process.
all right, well, I appreciate it,
Thanks,
thank you.
Shirley.
Thank you.
Is Wendy here? Good.
Hey, I'm Wendy.
Hey,
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So Wendy, thanks for coming in and being interested in the beach committee. Why don't we just start off, why don't you tell us about yourself and why you're interested in the committee?
Sure. I've owned 600 Ocean Boulevard since 2020. So I'm concerned about the beach. I got skin in the game, obviously. So I care. And I think I have skills that can help. I'm retired, so I have time. I teach Zumba, but that doesn't take too much time. Prior to that, I worked at BP Amoco for like 28 years. I'm an accountant undergrad, like Jimmy, but I did that for like a couple years, and I immediately got sent on the fast track to go to grad school. I got my MBA, focused on strategy and marketing, and kind of did strategy and marketing for the majority of my career there. So if you think about some of the things that we're struggling with, we've got to make decisions, and it's looking out into the future without a crystal ball on what we should do. So I think that the strategy skills will help kind of sort through the different choices that we have. I have a lot of marketing research experience, so I'm really good with talking with people, talking with customers. We can talk to people on the island. I've had tons of project experience where you have to make tough decisions for, do you want to invest in a new plant, or what customers do we want to target, or what markets should we go into? That takes a lot of research. So I'm really good with that end of it. And I think that the way to make strategic decisions is to be thoughtful on how to be rational. So you need to get data. You need to get the experts to bring in the information. You need to understand where other people are coming from so you can address their concerns. And I'm good with that. I like people. I'm an extrovert, so that's part of how you get people to buy into decisions, is by working with people well, at the top, at the middle, at the bottom of organizations. So I don't care. I don't want to move. I either got to move and sell my house, or I got to help and be part of the solution. So I'd like to help.
I'll open it up to others. And
Sorry about missing. When did you say you moved here or bought the property?
So I've been down here for like 7.5 years. I lived oceanfront on Sullivan's for 4 years.
Okay.
I've owned 600 Ocean Boulevard from Jimmy Carroll sold it to me since 2020.
Okay.
And I had to build a house. It was a blank piece of property, so it took a while during COVID.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I was not too far away. I was probably a mile from where I am now, on the ocean. So,
So you're a CPA, but you went into marketing. It's interesting.
strategy and marketing, yep.
Yeah.
I did accounting for 1 year total of my entire career.
Most people don't last very long. I'm only 28 years old. It's hard to believe. Look like I'm 70.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not.
liked it, and it's a great
It didn't
background.
affect me.
Did you do accounting, or?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm a
Oh,
CPA.
I'm a CPA.
Yeah, I saw that.
Can't pass again. I don't know.
Yeah. That's exactly what it means, can't pass again.
Fine.
But no, I've been doing it my whole career since 1983.
Yep.
But,
It's a good background.
well, it's the language of
But it's a
business,
skill-
you know?
Skill you always need. It plays into everything you do, and decisions. You've got to understand the economics. So
You went to kind of MBA from Northwestern, okay?
I did. It's actually
That's in Chicago,
Master of
right?
Management. What?
That's in Chicago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
#1 MBA school at the
Yeah.
time. I don't
Still
know.
is, I think.
Is it? I
Yeah.
have no idea.
And what, them in Chicago, going
It's,
back and forth.
Yeah.
I
My
know a
husband
couple
went
of
to
people
Chicago,
from,
so I like to bring that up. It's a right.
a couple of people from Mount Pleasant I knew went there.
Yeah. It was a great school. It
Oh,
was
it's a great
program.
Class A school, everybody knows that.
They paid for it for me, 70%. So
Wow.
yeah, it was a sweet deal.
Because it's private, isn't it? Northwestern?
You apply. You have to apply.
I mean, no, it's a private, I mean, it's not a state school,
No, I don't think so. The
right?
TNP program, the manager program, I'm not sure.
What, do you have anything specific that you'd like to mention, that you would like to bring?
What the issues are. If you ask me what we should be doing to how to get ahead of the game, on the south end, I think that we should 7 years, and that's not gonna happen. So to get everyone on board with do nothing's gonna be potentially catastrophic to the island. It's 2 miles of 4.5 miles of Isla Palms public beach, which is a big deal for tourism. So I think we need to address it, and by modeling that and understanding what do nothing is, it'll help to move off of that to what else should you do. So then that kind of leaves you with beach renourishments and a groin. I think people are concerned about a groin, but you can't swim in the breach inlet anyway. I lived on Sullivan's for, I don't know, 6 years. And they've got groins. When the beach is healthy, it's hidden under beach, and you walk right over them and you don't even know it. And when there's an emergency, it's exposed, but at least it's there. If you think about what's going on in the breach inlet, they're dredging, so you've got more greater volume going in and out of the breach inlet, and you've got Sullivan's Island that's kind of armored with their groins and their rocks. And so we're gonna take the tail of everything that happens on Isle of Palms. So I think we have to address that. You could say, could we just put more beach renourishments out there? But I think that what we've heard is that it's pretty costly. So if you're worried about money, then should you think about doing a groin? And I would say I would absolutely start studying it now, because I just don't think money comes falling from trees, and I think we have to be smart about
That's
what we need to
encouraging,
do.
your response to me, because I feel like, a few years ago and years before that, that was like a 4-letter word. But I think groin is, I can't speak for anyone else except for myself, but I'm kind of warming up to the possibility of looking at that. Because we can't be pouring $30 million into the beach every
You know,
8 to 10
it's
years.
so much money.
And, so that makes a lot of sense to me, so I appreciate your thoughts on that.
I mean, I remember being on Sullivan's, I'm like, oh, I like walking on Isle of Palms better, because, you can just go from point A to point B, and it's like easy. I don't have to worry about the tide, worry about when I walk over rocks. But now I get it. I'm like, holy cow, where's that darn groin
Right.
when we need it? So
Yeah.
it's like a trade-off. If you keep the beach healthy, you're not even gonna see that.
Right.
In front of my house on Sullivan's was a gun turret. Do you know where that is?
Yeah.
On 20, that's like where I lived. And that thing is like 6 foot tall, and kids would play on it, and it's buried. You can't see the thing right now. So that's what happens, it's there when you need it. And then when the beach is healthy, you don't even know it's there, because it's under.
Well,
It's
we have
under the
we have a
beach.
couple here,
Do we?
but yeah, like a 41st Avenue.
I haven't
It's
seen
been
it.
there forever. But anyway, I've talked enough. Ashley, I'm sure you got questions.
Well, no, pretty good.
I am too.
That was short. You guys had a long day, and you're running late.
No, you've been, I
Gave a lot
think you,
of-
yeah.
Maya?
So here's the process. We're
Yeah.
gonna, there's a couple of people who couldn't make it today, so we're gonna do
Okay.
some more interviews on the 2nd, and then on the December 9th, there's a special council meeting where we'll make recommendations to council, but then it won't be approved or voted on until January 6th at the new council.
Okay.
So that's when everything will be
I
fine.
stopped my Bible study a long time ago to do this.
I know it's delayed.
And then
It's
you
been-
delay it. I'm like, well, yeah, I'll have to deal with God on this one. You know.
Please,
No, that's fine. I'm just
Yeah.
teasing.
yeah.
That's
Thank
fine.
you for being interested in coming in. Appreciate it. Yeah,
My heart's in
Yeah.
it, so
yeah, I know.
Douglas knows me. I bug him all the time about how to get sand and stuff,
Yeah.
so.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Wendy.
Thank you. It's nice
Yeah.
meeting you guys.
tell me when you're ready, Amy.
You are ready.
All right, thank you. We interviewing Jim Anderson. Thank you, Jim, for being interested in the beach committee. I'll start off and just ask you to tell us about yourself and why you're interested in the committee.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you all again. Most of you guys know me from both JM being on council and also from WDCA, where I was president for 2 years. And why I'm interested in this, probably against my better judgment, but I really think it's probably the most crucial issue we have facing the island right now. And I've been involved from the other side of the island for the last 2 years on it. I'm up the learning curve. I've watched, I hate to say it, I hate to admit it, that I've watched every minute of the Beach Ad Hoc Committee group over the last couple of years. And I've also met, I know the people at DES. I know Adam Bova, Matt Slagle's now with the city of Charleston, but the other Matt there too. So we work with them both on permitting inside our gates for things that we have. And last but not least, I still, even though I'm not actively involved with WDCA anymore, I'm still in touch and can represent both their thoughts and their things to the city and this upcoming group. So that's a very abbreviated, but that's sort of why I'm here and why I think I'm qualified.
What do you think the objective is, or what can this committee entertain and accomplish?
Well, I think it's taking, for instance, I saw the RFQ that you guys put out last night at the city council. I thought that was a good follow-up to this Bob Olson report. I think this group is just another way to do the homework and give opinions and give some educated input into decision makers, city council. That's their role. It's like, hey, we spent a lot of time on this. This is what we found out. I thought it was great, and I went and I saw this presentation that Chris Creed gave. I thought it was good, but it was obvious that he admitted it. He goes, I sort of made this up, put it on a cocktail napkin. These are just some ideas. We haven't proven these out yet. So I thought that what you guys did last night was a great next step, was saying, there's something here. Now we need to nail it down. So let's go talk to some people and see if we can take the next step, which we're going to have to do over the next, certainly next couple of years, but preparing for not only the beach renourishment that we have forthcoming, but also setting the stage, the processes, and what defines the beach and what is the objective we want as an island with our beach, other than more sand. That's a little vacuous. I think that's sort of where people are thinking right now. It's like, maybe we need to be a little more formalized with this. So, I think I can contribute to that conversation. And I will say that both candidates for the runoff have told me personally that you'd be great on this committee. So.
Oh, they say that to everybody.
They're
But,
politicians.
I agree with them, but
That's the
anyway,
political answer.
just consider the source,
Consider the source.
Source
Right
is.
there.
You mentioned something, a minute ago, and I'd like to follow up on it, was about, defining where we want to be in the next couple of years and, what's specific, steps that we would take to define success as far as keeping the beach healthy, besides just, I think you said, just sand. Could you elaborate on that, your thoughts on that just a little bit?
Well, a lot of it came from the Bob Olson,
Okay.
and I've known Steve Trainum for 10 years now. And, I like Steve, and he's taught me a lot, and I've listened to him. But it's also apparent that, given what we've seen the last couple of years, and, I live in that end of the island. I've seen, I've seen the water in Jimmy Bernstein's house and the next house falling in more. And I have good friends at Ocean Club who are scared to death what's happening there, not to mention even towards Dewey's Inlet, you know, what's happening there and all the dirt you guys have piled up, but it's still, you know,
Right.
it's dangerous right now. So what I'd like to see is the island, leadership of the island, come to a consensus and put together a plan of how we're going, you know, what do we want with the beach? And I say other than sand. Well, for the Breach Inlet, maybe we do want the terminal groin to capture that sand. I'd like somebody more qualified than I to say, yes, this would work given what's happened. You know, we know the sand has ended up in the maritime forest. That's where the maritime forest came from on Sullivan's Island. What can we do to capture that at Breach Inlet and solve that end of the island's problem? So that's sort of the approach I would like to take is, let's break it down in bite-sized pieces. What do we want? Well, we want a healthy beach by Breach Inlet. We've heard two different people say why this could potentially be happening. Let's do a deeper dive, get a better understanding of that. And then what are the solutions? He's talking, Chris was talking about, and this is where he said he really pulled off a napkin, these breakwaters out there, you know, throw a bunch of stones. Well, they did that at Hilton Head. Andrew had some experience, Andrew from Wild Dunes had some experience with that. And they're, you know, about 100 yards long, and they do help it. Well, let's get a little deeper into that, and what would that look like? Is that, you know, do you go ahead and build that? How do you fund it also? There's, you know, we'll get into that in a minute. And do you care that you got breakwaters 100 yards off the beach, 150 yards off the beach? If you have a stable beach, you know, that's a discussion you guys will have to have on the city council, but, you know, you gotta have it with as much facts as you can. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir, that's fine.
Well, my question was gonna be related to funding. Do you have, I mean, it's always an issue. Do you have any ideas on?
Well, you know, I've been fighting this for years. I was able to get the resort to contribute additional $4 million, or contribute their part to get an additional $4 million. So we're up to about 10 now, we being Wild Dunes. I said last year, my final address, I said, I think you need to raise that to 15. They haven't done that, but I think they are in the process now, and this is all anecdotal, you know, I can't verify it, but I think they realize that they're gonna have to come up with some more money, and they're gonna, you're a resident, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they're gonna ask you for a covenant change and, to throw some money in the pot, and, you know, I think the resort's gonna end up doing that. I haven't heard that for a fact, but they have to. I was pleased that the resort, when we went through this last time, they get it, you know, they need a beach. And they understood that, and so they, you know, graciously contributed more money. I think we're at that point now on that end of the island that we're gonna have to do that. But it's, you know, it's gonna be, I don't know what it's gonna be, 25 million, 27 million? How are we gonna fund that? I know you guys just got a splash from the state, that's great. I think we need to, the city council, with the support of the Beach Preservation Committee, needs to figure out how you can go to Columbia and we need to talk to Chip Campson, we need to talk, you know, Joe Bustos, you know, we need to talk to everybody and see if we can get some type of money. And the, you know, the Parks and Recreation guy, who's very sharp, and he sort of controls the purse strings, he's been there forever. And, you know, I saw him at the Beach Advocates meeting last year. He's willing to do this. We just gotta get some, a little more attention and support from the state. Is that easily done? No, but I think you have to make that effort. I think that's part of part of the answer to the question.
Yeah, someone earlier that we interviewed, they mentioned that oceanfront homeowners potentially contribute more, and then it kind of trickles down. What are your thoughts on that?
That's the way they did it, Debidu. I remember the Beach Advocates, person Debidu stood up and goes, yeah, the people off the beach contributed $400 and the beachfront guys contributed $10,000. And I was thinking, oh, that's, now they did that Do you guys remember Scott Brawley? Remember Scott Brawley? He was president of Wild Dunes Community Association back in the 2018 renourishment. And they actually had to do an assessment. And Scott unfortunately passed away about 4 months ago. But I used to say Scott had PTSD from the amount of grief he caught about that. And what they did was they charged the Front Beach people more and all the way through the back. This is akin, not only beach, but the whole question about resiliency. I know you guys, Douglas, you're working on this, the resiliency plan. We are working on this at Wild Dunes. This is part and parcel of that. And my gut feel is half of this is sea level rise, and that impacts both sides of the island. I live on the north side of the north side of the island. I live on the I overlook the intercoastal. I'm as much at risk as anybody. Maybe not as at risk. I don't live in Ocean Club and my building's hung up and falling in the ocean, but you know, I get it. And I think at least what I would say, what I've been saying to the WDCA people is, if you look at the composition of the housing, you know, we have a lot of condos up there. You guys got a lot of condos right here too. I don't think it's necessarily, you gotta pound on them more so than other people. We're all in this. But that's just one man's opinion. I mean, you guys are gonna have to decide that when you figure out how you're gonna do it. I can see both sides of the argument, but I think that when you're talking about resiliency and long-term solutions, we got 4,700 people here. It doesn't go on just secondary investors and homeowners. And that's, as said, as a permanent resident. So.
Yeah. Jimmy, any other question?
Everything's
I
good.
don't think I do either, so thanks, John, for coming in.
Dang, that was quick.
Yeah.
Why did I give up
Oh,
golf? All right.
You didn't give golf up.
I did.
You did?
Yeah. I did jumping jacks and rode the Peloton to get ready
Oh.
for this.
Just to go, the process is,
Yeah.
we're gonna, a couple of people couldn't make it today, so we're gonna have a second interview session on the 2nd of December.
Okay.
The 9th is a council meeting that will make the recommendations, and they'll vote it on by the council on January 6th.
All right, well, you guys know how to get hold of me if anything else
Yeah.
comes up or any other questions.
Thank you, Jim.
Good seeing you all.
We'll call Jan.
Take care, man.
All right, so next is John Mars, right?
Correct.
I just saw.
They beg for colors every year.
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm John Mars.
Yeah, John Bosie, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, Douglas Carr.
Hi, Douglas.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Jimmy Ward.
Hi, Jimmy. Nice to meet you. John Mars.
Hey, Ashley Carroll.
Hi, Ashley. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Nicole, nice to meet you.
Hi, Nicole. Nice to meet you.
Tell me when they're on.
Well, you win the introduction first place.
Yeah,
Hey,
Yeah. Far and above.
John?
Off to a great start.
All right, John.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, so you're interviewing for the beach committee.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for having an interest.
Absolutely.
I'll just start off by asking you, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in the committee.
Okay. I guess for me, it's a generational concern. So my parents lived right across the connector in Seaside Farms. My in-laws lived on the island for 30 years. We've been bringing our kids here for over 30 years. And my wife and I relocated here permanently 4 or 5 years ago. We've seen changes in the beach. I was here when they first did the beach renourishment in 2008. Saw the guys out there with the metal detectors and things. It's a huge issue for our community, and I'm committed to the community. I want it to be here for the next generation, and I think the folks on this committee are going to be vitally important to making sure that we have a viable community here. In addition, my family actually is pretty interested in this topic, so I thought I'd stick my toe in the water. It's not my background. My son went to Duke University and his minor was in environmental studies. He works for an environmental company in Washington, D.C. I think you guys know my wife. She works on the environmental committee here, or as part of it. My background is in human resources. I worked in HR my entire career. I worked in heavy manufacturing for consumer products with Pepsi, and I finished my career in financial services working for State Street and Fidelity Investments. So this is all this type of work is different and new to me, but to be successful in what I did before, you needed to know labor law, employment law. I did labor relations my first part of my career, compensation, you needed benefits, you need to know a lot of different things. So I was used to being curious and staying up and informed on what was going on in the legal environment and also in our workplace. And I've been doing the same thing related to this. I've been, digging in and looking at what's available online, what's going on in overseas. Amsterdam has done some really interesting stuff in this space. So I'm just, I think it's really important, and I want to be a part of the success.
What do you think the role and the outcome of the committee should be?
Well, I think the role of the committee is to provide information, insight, community feedback in support of the council, and really be the feet on the ground for the council. And if there's research that needs to be done, support with the state government, federal government, to try to get people excited and focused on that stuff. But it's primarily to support the council and support the government body here.
Jimmy and Ashley?
Well, but I agree, but what I do is, my feelings on committees and the ones appointed by council is, I want to listen to them instead of me leading them to a certain result. That I'm very interested in hearing what they have to say, where we have to wear, several different hats.
Absolutely.
And most of us are still working and stuff, and
Yep.
we got lives and things like that, but we've got this committee that focuses, the laser focus on what's the best stuff. And so, for me personally, I'm open to what the committee has to say.
Right.
And then I can ask questions
Right.
about why they came to those conclusions and why maybe they did or did not look at other possibilities
Right.
to a question. So,
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think it's not a decision-making body necessarily, but it's not a body that doesn't, it need to be informed and need to provide as much information as we can for the councils, so the council can make an informed decision. But I don't think we're not really helping the council at all if we just are taking direction from the council. We
Right.
provide, you know, we provide some type of framework of what it is you need from us. And maybe we identify things you haven't identified, and come back to you with, hey, look, you know, we didn't look at this, but maybe there's some opportunities to do stuff offshore that can mitigate some of the impact of what's going on
Yes, sir.
in the environment. The options or I guess the issues and things are pretty wide, and wouldn't expect the council to be experts on all that, and that's kind of what you're asking us to do.
Yes, sir. I've always had the belief that my job as a council member is that I'm not learning anything when I'm talking. I'm learning when I'm listening, you know? And, so I listen a lot, and we have some like really outstanding volunteers have come forward on all these committees, and I'm very encouraged by that, that, you know, you want to volunteer your time and give something to the community with vast array and amounts of experience and, you know, business experience, personal life experience and stuff like that. So I just appreciate you coming forward.
No, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I don't really have any questions right now.
You, have you been keeping up with all the studies and the reports and those type of, the activity of the current committee?
I have, not necessarily with the current, well, yeah, I did look at some of the committee material, but I looked at what the, what is it, FOF came
Yeah,
in with their
Olson,
second opinion, and I thought that was pretty interesting and compelling. And I've been out to the beach several times to see what's going on with Jimmy Bernstein's home, that whole area. And being a resident here, you can't help but stay up to speed with what's going on. And then you see all the material and Facebook and Nextdoor and all that stuff. But there's quite a bit that's been done. The community's invested a lot of money. I think personally, there's probably some opportunity to be smarter about how we invest and what we invest in terms of the dunes. I reached out to because my son went to school there, and my wife went to school there too, the professor at Duke, and they're doing a lot of research on living shoals, or living shoals, living shorelines, and the things that are going on overseas around what they're doing out offshore to try to help mitigate sand loss. And I just think there's a lot of research and interesting concepts that we can take advantage of. Not criticizing, I mean, people were kind of reading and reacting as we go along so far. And I think you need to do that, but we also need to be kind of proactive and look out 5, 10, 15 years as to what kinds of things can we do in this environment to help protect our valuable asset of our island.
You got any other questions, Jim?
No, sir.
Yes,
No.
you- All right. So, I'm done too.
Okay.
The process is that we have a couple people that couldn't make it today, so we're gonna interview them on the 9th.
Okay.
Then on the 9th of December, we'll make recommendations to city council, and then city council will vote on it
Okay.
in December, or the January 6th meeting.
Okay.
The new council.
So it'll be a while, which is fine.
Yeah, this council will take place in January.
Yeah.
This committee will take place in January.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, thanks for the interest. We appreciate you taking the time and coming in.
Thanks for meeting with me, and excited about the work that's gonna get done here, whether I'm part of the committee or not.
Yeah.
I think it's great
And
work.
Cindy's really active with
She's
Environmental Committee,
very
Raw Dunes Community Association.
She is.
Yeah.
We gotta keep moving,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice
Thank
meeting you. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you.
Damn it.
you. Douglas Carr. How are you?
Douglas,
Good to
John.
see you.
Hey, Ward.
Hey, Jimmy, John Schilling.
Nice to meet you.
So, tell me when you're, if it's on.
You are on.
All right, so we're gonna interview John Schilling, interested in the beach committee.
Yes, I am.
All right, why don't we just start, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in the
Sure.
committee?
It's okay, I prepared something. if it's-
Absolutely,
I don't
yeah.
want to bore you
Yeah.
with the speech, but still want to miss anything. Okay, my name's John Schilling. My wife and I bought our home in Wild Dunes in 2000, and we've loved being part of this community ever since. We've been married for 42 years and have 2 grown children. Our daughter and her husband live in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and our son and his wife recently bought a home here in Wild Dunes. I've always lived near the water. My dad was a career Navy officer, and we moved every 2 years off into coastal communities. We lived across the street from the beach in Oahu and a block from Windansea Beach in San Diego. And as newlyweds, my wife and I bought a place within walking distance of the beach in Stamford, Connecticut. Our family first vacationed on the Isle of Palms for several years before moving here. Our children loved the beach and playing in the sand with their cousins who live locally. I'm also familiar with the Charleston area. I graduated from Portugal and spent a summer living on Sullivan's Island. When we decided to buy here, proximity to the beach was essential, and it remains one of the things that I cherish the most. Walking the beach is one of my favorite pastimes. I typically access the beach at 54th Avenue and walk in both directions, up to Dewey's Inlet and down to the pier. Over 25 years, I've witnessed firsthand the ongoing erosion of our beaches, and they're now in the most fragile condition I've ever seen. In September, I walked the south end of the island from the pier to Breach Inlet, and I saw the challenges there as well. Now that I'm retired, I have the time and energy to devote to beach preservation, which I think is the #1 issue facing the Isle of Palms. Our disappearing dry sand beaches threaten our property values, tourism, and our way of life. With island residential property valued at about $6.5 billion, even a 5 to 10% decline in value represents hundreds of millions of dollars lost, not to mention the ripple effect on tourism. To learn more about best practices, a couple of months ago I researched other barrier islands, and I was particularly impressed with Hilton Head's approach. Since 1990, they've proactively scheduled renourishment projects every 8 to 10 years, and their consistent data-driven process is a model worth studying. And I was encouraged to see Hilton Head's engineering consultant review our program at the October committee meeting, and I hope their collaboration continues. While I'm not an engineer, I have a business background, and that's prepared me to manage complex projects. When I acquired our Artisan House in 2001, the company was in disarray. Quality issues, poor inventory management, delinquent customers, outdated systems, and a working capital deficit. I methodically prioritized problems, tackled them in manageable phases, and led to a turnaround that restored profitability. That experience taught me that large challenges like our island's erosion must be approached with discipline, focus, and realistic sequencing. We can't do everything at once, but we can make steady progress if we prioritize and collaborate effectively. If I'm selected for the committee, I intend to deepen my understanding of shoal management and renourishment strategies. I'd advocate for sustainable science-based planning like Hilton Head, and I'd explore new funding sources, recognizing that South Carolina's current support level lags behind states like Florida, where studies have shown that beach restoration yields significant returns through higher property values and tourism revenue. Yes, sir.
Well, thank you. I assume you've kept up with the current committee?
Yes. Yeah, I watched the committee meeting from October, and I read the
For Olson?
update plan for 2024.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think the role and some of the outcome of the committee should be?
Well, I think we should recommend, and prioritize the things that need to be done. And it seems to me that we have like a lot of things to consider. And I think what we need to do is pick off the top 2 or 3 problems, or the ones that we can address immediately. And then once they get done, move down the list. But I am concerned that there's so much going on. The beach is changing constantly, and if we could get tied up in knots if we try to find the perfect solution. Because the problem, there isn't one that we can foresee right now. And also finding money. I think that's one thing that has to be a priority too. Because it's expensive, but I think we have $6.5 billion worth of property here, and there's a way we can afford this. It's because if the property, if our values, no one's going to want to live on the Isle of Palms if there's no sandy beach. So who's going to want to? How much are we going to lose on our home values?
All right, I'll let Jimmy and Ashley ask a question.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation. It's obvious, but we don't have a beach. We don't have anything.
Right.
It's not just the people that live here.
Right.
It's no one wants to spend $10,000 on a week-long vacation,
Exactly.
and the kids can't get on the beach.
Right.
So it's the economic engine that drives the economy in so many ways.
Right.
And I enjoyed listening to your introductory speech, and it answered just about every question I had. It's a very interesting story, and I think you have a lot to contribute.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I mean, I like what you said about having a disciplined and realistic approach. I think that's important. I know emotions get in the way sometimes.
Right.
But when looking at the state and city laws, what are your opinions on those regarding, structures and things like that? There's some people to say that the code is outdated.
Well, I saw, to be honest with you, I'm not that familiar with the regulations. I've seen, we live at 54th Avenue, which is in Wild Dunes, and when I walk up, I see Beechwood East. If I can even walk there anymore, it has to be low tide. And I've seen these walls that some people have made, and they're not there anymore. But I don't know, it's kind of hard to say to someone with the water's rushing under their house that you're not supposed to do anything, but hopefully the sandbags will help them. I was very surprised. In May, I guess, we put 120,000 cubic yards of sand up in Wild Dunes. I didn't think that would last. I don't know what they were thinking. It's all gone now. Every bit of that sand that they placed there is gone. So I don't know what to say to these people.
The shoal management, the shoal project you're referring to, I think, right?
They put, in May
Yeah.
27th.
Yeah.
It's not there anymore.
I think people are opening up to previously ideas that they wouldn't even consider. And what I specifically mean for myself personally is the question of groins.
Right.
And that was always like a bad word, but we can't continue to keep what we're doing.
Right.
We have to we have to do something different.
Right.
So what, do you have any opinions on drawings or?
I think I've seen, I think I've seen them before at other beaches that I visited. Nothing's coming to mind right away. But
Right.
it does seem to be a way of trapping some sand and keeping it
Yeah.
close to the shore. And I don't think it really impacts the usability of the beach that much.
Well, if it does its job, after a few years, you won't even know it's there.
Exactly, they'll disappear. Yeah, yeah,
You walk around on top of them, you won't even know it.
right. No,
It's interesting.
I don't disagree.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, John, well, thank you for being with us and coming in.
Yeah, well, thank you
I really
for
appreciate it.
inviting me.
The process is that there's a couple people that couldn't make today to interview, so we're gonna interview on December 2nd.
Okay.
And then we'll make a recommendation to council for, on December the 9th.
Okay.
And then, council will approve, the final committee on January the 6th.
Got it.
All right?
Okay, and I have a hand
Yeah,
up for you.
thank you. Yeah. Thank you for preparing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, nice to meet you.
Does your daughter, do they work at the university?
At Harvard, no, she works at the Concord Museum.
Okay. 'Cause you went to Harvard, though,
I
right?
did,
Yeah.
business school, yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
Sure. Right.
So. Concludes the interviews for today, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so,
Good candidates.
yeah, I would say that we, since we have two to go, we'll just go into executive session and do everything at our December 2nd. Can you get, is
That's
December 2nd?
fine with me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we'll also, at that meeting, bring all the other judges
Yeah.
and prosecutors and city attorneys and anything else that we need to approve. All right, so next meeting date will be the 2nd, December 2nd at 1 o'clock. Being no further business.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.